What's up, everybody? My name is Galston Anthony, the best to ever do it, and another episode where I'm going to have political talks. Now, comment sections is always on fire when we do politics, but please be respectful. Please understand my tact and my strategy when it comes to having these conversations. They're not done according to what you like, but according to the conversations that are real. Today in studio, I have somebody that is particularly interesting. He is a president. He started his own political party, but before all that, he was a businessman that, like everybody else, has their, let's just say, arguments with the national ruling party in this country, the ANC. I'm talking about nobody but Mr. Mashaba himself. How you doing?
Fine, how are you? Thank you so much for this invitation and the engagement. I hope we'll have productive, enlightening engagement.
You're one of the earlier people to talk against ANC. Why is that?
Because, I've got history, which I've just given you a slight background to it. And I spent a lot of money for the ANC for voter education because I realized that majority of black people didn't really understand this voting and democracy. It was completely new concept to us.
Yeah.
That's why even today, voter education is a huge challenge. So I spend a lot of my money to get professional people to run national voter education programs, and voted for Nelson Mandela.
So you voted ANC?
Yes, absolutely, and proudly so. Was very close to, because majority of ANC leaders at the time, I knew them personally. People like Nelson Mandela, upon their release. In fact, I remember in 1989 when Ahmed Kathrada got released. Was one of the first people within 7 days of his release. I was invited to his house. A friend of mine, one of my distributors, Gulam Kaka, was related to the family, and I visited Ahmed Kathrada, and I was actually quite taken aback by their knowledge of me and telling me while they were in prison they had access to newspapers, they had access to television,
because
so they knew of me.
The rarity of black success.
Yes,
right. So all the black successes, they knew who they were. And consider that we have to give timeline here because it's now in the early 90s.
Yes,
you were in your early 30s.
Before the voting.
Between 1990 and 94.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that bracket. So you early 30s at that time. You're still very young.
Well, I'm still very young.
Yeah, Mandela is in his 60s. And they know about you,
I was really quite surprised. I mean, as you can imagine, we grew up not even having pictures of those guys. We knew of them, but we had no idea how they looked like. Remember, the papers were not obviously were not allowed to print to show their faces. So I was actually taken up by surprise, but it was really very positive.
No, I understand that. So we got to the place where we were talking about the ANC. You voted for them and you were proud about voting for them. And Nelson Mandela, amongst a few other people, knew who you were as you were going. Okay. Now gets to a place you start becoming very critical towards the end of the 90s, early 2000s. Here comes a young man. He's talking. ANC is corrupt. They're always doing this. They're failing black people. What made you say those words? Because remember, corruption at that time was not a thing to black people.
Yes, absolutely.
What made you say that?
No, because I think what I was even more critical about was their introduction of very, what I call draconian labor laws, which were actually destroying black entrepreneurs. They were destroying the rule of law, the criminal justice system. So black township, the guys had no protection. They had to comply with this sophisticated labor laws. I've witnessed black guys who used to be smart, hardworking, the unions really destroying their businesses, criminals taking advantage of them. One thing that even today hurts me is the fact that I went out. I used to really travel a lot. When I started Black Like Me, I used to for 15 years or so. I used to do plus minus 10,000 kilometers a month. My car had to be serviced every month. Establishing black distributors in the various townships and so forth. And all of a sudden, 1994 comes, and you have the collapse of the rule of law. Black guys in the townships became easy targets for criminals. I would deliver stock to you as a black distributor. The very same night, the stock is gone, and no protection whatsoever.
Why weren't they
it had
protected?
me.
So I'm trying to understand. Was it because you were losing business, or was it because black people in general were losing business that you started talking?
No, my business was growing leaps and bounds, but then my black distribution network was collapsing. Then I had to, and then the business was now taken over by Indian traders and the big national chains like Clicks, ShopRite, Checkers, and so forth. So what happens is that, in the past, I used to give these black guys stock on credit when the business was growing, and they used to pay me. But then I had to stop giving black guys stock on credit because I deliver stock to you when within 24 hours.
There's a middleman that steals it.
They break into his shop. He loses everything. He's unable to pay me. And this was becoming unbearable for me, that I realized I can't sustain this. And it was because of government ignorance of the reality of what they were doing in ensuring that they develop black entrepreneurs, protect them from criminal elements.
But now ANC came in as a socialist party. They knew about you in the background, right? So, in as much as they knew about you, why didn't they protect you? Because you could have become a valuable asset for them. Were they trying to make sure that your money is distributed amongst everybody else so that we have no rich class, even though they knew about you before they got out of jail?
Well, unfortunately, that's not really the ANC that we thought growing up. It's going to be they were proven to be something completely different to what we grew up, I think, in their way. You bring these issues to the attention. I remember Tito Mboweni was the first minister of labor, and I was very close to Tito Mboweni before even 1994,
Before governor.
Because I met him the first time at university. We went to university.
All right, you went to Turflope University. Makes sense, yeah.
And he's one of the guys who left when I was looking for context to leave the country. He managed to leave the country to go into exile, and meet him much later, before the 1994, and he becomes the Minister of Labor. And I used to complain to him about the labor laws that they were coming out with. That honestly, you guys are conniving with big business, because big businesses have got lawyers, labor lawyers, and so forth, who would really be able to navigate this legislative framework that you're coming out with. But at the same time, you're killing the guys in the townships. They don't have the kind of capacity that big business is coming out with. In fact, honestly, if you look at our labor laws,
I'm trying to figure out, why do you think ANC did that and allowed that to happen? Because the thing is, sure, it sounds like individually, from an individual perspective, as an entrepreneur, your business is being broken. So now you're speaking out based on your business, right? But then you became a pundit as an overall. So you firstly got it. What was ANC marketed to everybody, and then what did you experience?
ANC wasn't living up to the expectations that we were under impression.
The expectation is freedom, which
yes, absolutely, they deliver.
Black business.
Yeah, but development, definitely managing the country in a professional manner. It was to do with cadre deployment, being close proximity to politicians, and that's something that was against my values. I wasn't close and spend money for the ANC to get the votes, because I expected anything more than the ANC delivering pride and development in the black communities. and they were failing completely. Unfortunately, big business managed to get them to keep the status quo and made them multi-billionaires overnight, and took the eye of the ball to realize that we've had inequality for centuries, and if you don't really address it, we will continue. And here we are, 31 years later. My family in Alexander, in Soweto, in Amanskraal, people are poorer than they were in 1994. You've only got a small, real, tiny percentage of black people who've really benefited out of the system. And obviously, the old system prefers that their privilege must really be protected, and ANC is prepared to allow this. That's something I find totally unacceptable.
And you weren't protected per se. But then I have a further question for you. Okay, here you are, you speaking against the ANC, and you figured out the solution is to join the DA. But earlier on in our conversation, you have certain grievances. You didn't call them grievances. I'm calling them grievances about being raised in a white, your mom raising white kids in a white neighborhood, right? And then you said, look, to answer the problems of ANC, I'm going to DA. Why DA?
Growing up, even as I said to you, when I started my business, I didn't invite Johan to join and gave him 25% share in my business because he was white. I gave him, made him a shareholder and an equal partner in my business. It was my idea because I was looking for his technical know-how.
Gotcha.
I was a trader. I could sell. Joseph and I would sell. So, when I started my business, I only took 25% share in the business. Joseph took 25%, Johan took 25%, and then we gave 25% to Walter and Uncle Ness, the funders, So I only actually over years bought other shareholders. But when I started my business, started with 25%. And I didn't bring
down the answer to why DA.
No, I'm just telling you to show you that for me, once I started growing up and realized that actually it's pay people as a result of politicians. Because Johan and I, as business partners, I think we played a very key role in social harmony and cohesion, because Johan came from a very conservative poor Africans community in Boksburg. But I've discovered he was a wonderful person, and he hated apartheid with a passion. It's just my bravery in approaching him to join me to start my business, because I needed his expertise
if I'm understanding correctly.
And during the time and over the years, engaging with white businesses, really realized that honestly, the racism is not inborn in people. It's something that
was taught.
Yeah, that was taught. So that's why when I was angry with the ANC, and the DA was the biggest party, that at the time I thought they were for social justice and they will help to heal the wounds of the past. And when they approached me to be the mayoral candidate initially, because I honestly never thought before they approached me to be their mayoral candidate, as much as I was openly against ANC policies and their corruption.
Because I'm trying to see this linear line that I'm trying to create here. Okay, here you are. It's early 2000s. At that point, it's still the Democratic Party.
Yeah, but I only started voting for them. I voted for the ANC twice, in 1994 and 1999. Now with 2004. That's when I was looking for an alternative. And DA was a rising party, having some few black people. And I thought, because one thing for sure, for me, being a student of history, democracy is something that I had a fair idea of its power, because democracy's got a power. You know, once you prepared to exercise your democratic right to vote, that's it. It's more powerful than having money, because You have the power to vote
The
politicians.
power is with the people.
Yes, you have the power to remove politicians. You've got the power to install politicians. So the DA then became an option. So I kept voting for the DA, not making any noise until in the second term of Jacob Zuma. That was 2014 or something.
Right, somewhere there, right?
2014. I said to friends and my wife and everyone around me, I said, if Jacob Zuma gets over 60%, I'm going to disrupt the political system in the country. I'm going to, for the first time in my life, take a membership of a political party of the DA, and I'll make announcements. And unfortunately for me, Jacob Zuma got 62%, and I had to honor my commitment. I called Mmusi Maimane, who was the leader of the DA at the time. I called him. I said, Mmusi, I live here in Sandton. How does one join a political party? I want to take a membership of your political party. I didn't tell him what I wanted to do. And he said, no, don't worry. I'll send someone. Give me your office address. I'll send someone to come and see you. And absolutely one day send someone to my office, paid the 10 rands, and they gave me a receipt, a membership number. By the time he left my office, I'd already released, because I'd already prepared the press statement. Gotcha. Because I knew for me taking membership for the first time of a political party, and the DA for that matter, I knew it was going to attract a lot of media attention. And
I've got a lot of questions around that, because although I want to ask this question later, I'm just going to lay the foundation now. Is that now it seems that politicians is about populism as opposed to not just constituencies, but to get work done. But I wanted to move on to the mayor side now. Now you're mayor of Johannesburg, and boom, you're actually making things work. It is everybody's surprise that black man, DA, making things work, still talking trash about the ANC. How did you feel that in that term that you did? What did you feel like? Yes, I'm proving myself right. Yes, I'm proving the country.
Yeah, what's interesting about this is the fact that when DA approached me to be the mayoral candidate, my goodness, I had no idea what the mayor does.
Because you're a businessman.
Yes, I mean, what does a mayor does? But because I really felt that I'm not prepared to leave my country, go and live somewhere else. I don't want to really be a refugee somewhere else. Mine is not everything to me. It's important. I'm unapologetic capitalist, but mine is to really facilitate and do good to society and yourself. Firstly, to myself and my family, and I can also do good to society. So, the approaches me. Then initially I told them to go to leave my office.
Why?
I'm not interested. No, because I didn't know what a mayor does. So to get into direct into the political arena, I've never done something like that before.
Right.
But then what made me to finally accept was when Jacob Zuma, we wake up in the morning, we've got a minister of finance.
Yeah, just like that. Just switch cabinets.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's when I realized that this is not a horror movie. This is real. And I then said to the DA, Amen. If these guys can do it, I'm sure I can do it as well.
So you treated Johannesburg like a business. Is that what you did?
And that's how it should run. And that's how you see our Mayor Antoine using the same principles.
We'll get to the MMC, the mayoral Antoine.
Yeah, no, I get into office. ANC made a commitment that my government is not going to last until December. And at the same time, I had the EFF who didn't know me. Remember when after the DA negotiated with the EFF to support them to take over Johannesburg, because I wasn't part of the negotiations. The EFF, remember, had a press conference in Alexander to say to the DA, we are happy to support you to remove the ANC, but to remove this capitalist as a mayor, give us someone else. So I knew the EFF didn't want me. And I said to the DA, please this is the last job I want. Give this job to someone else. Don't lose this opportunity of being in government so that you can govern well and demonstrate to South Africans that there's still hope. I then ended up becoming a mayor 22nd of August 2016 with this hostile environment of the ANC wanting to collapse my government, and discovered in the process that my party, the DA, as time was developing, that the DNI actually we don't share the same principles and values.
What are these principles and values? Because you're a capitalist, they believe in free market capital as well.
Yeah, but they're not the same kind of the free market system and social justice. I'm rooted in social justice.
Okay, so the dissonance is in the social justice.
Yes, and yeah. The DA just wants blacks voters, but they're not interested in.
So do you feel like do you feel like they used you as mayor to get black voters?
I can't say they used me because I wasn't really that naive. But one thing that I think has helped me is it helped me to really be inside that I can really see that these people are not interested in poor black communities in particular.
Why do you say that? Because a lot of the times, especially the people that came from DA, would say that DA didn't care about black people and poor communities, like you're saying. What was it that you said that? Look here, DA, that I didn't appreciate it.
Well, I can just give you an example of what I did when I was doing my first the budget to discover this exploitative system by the ANC with labor brokers, poor cleaners and so forth. They've been given to tenderpreneurs. For a security guy, the city is paying something like up to 16,000 rands. Give it to a tenderpreneur, but the tenderpreneur will pay this poor guy 3,500-4,000 rands a month, and sometimes they don't pay them on time. No benefits, nothing. And so when we discussed this with the EFF and other parties, we says no, we cannot allow the system. And I presented when I discussed with the DA about the insourcing program that I'm doing away with this unnecessary labor brokers exploiting our poor people.
Right. You know, they just brokers taking large commissions.
Yes,
they're taking up to 80 commission, and then they give the laborers.
Yes, and no, the DA didn't see anything wrong. In fact, I even said to them, guys, Johannesburg, because when I presented this to them, they says, no, this is not our insource, is not our policy. I said, no. In the city of Johannesburg, we are governed in a multi-party government. We are going to insource. So I said, go and make it your policy, because here in the city of Johannesburg, we are going to insource.
That's one, saving a lot of money. Yep. It's a lot more effective. People are getting paid on time. And in terms of social justice, so I'm on your side. But now here's the thing is, and I want to take a trace back
I'm just giving
and come forward
as one of
the examples. But here's the thing is that I've had quite a few politicians sit down with me that maybe were in the DA or they were just against the ANC. And if I look at the history, you come from a family where your mom raised white little kids, right? And you were raised by your sisters that was barely older than you. They weren't even teenagers at the time. They had to take you through school. Then you become a millionaire at a very, very young age, which is very rare at that time. Then at that point, you feel like ANC did you dirty, did your businesses dirty, and doing social injustices as well. You speak about against them, that white, being raised by white, raising white children happens now. You are being raised by DA now a lot later. Get mad at them. It seems like a in-out. 1 foot in, out, 1 foot out. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It seems to be a pattern that I see quite often.
But that's life. As human beings, life changes.
Right.
What used to happen here a few years ago is no longer applicable today. So if you're a human being, you don't adapt, you can never really make it in life.
Correct.
It's about adaptation.
And is this why you started ActionSA?
There's absolutely nothing. Yes. What happened is when I resigned, because NDA didn't realize that I was serious, when Helen, who was instrumental in causing conflict and division in my caucus, I then came across secret meetings she was having with the ANC for the ANC to come out with a motion of no confidence against me, to be supported by majority of white DA councillors. So I got to know about this. She didn't realize that I've got close contacts within ANC. So while these meetings were happening, facilitated by the Institute of Race Relations, so I got to know about this. And I made it public that in the event Helen comes back to the DA, at that time, she had already made the announcement to take over from James Self as the chairman of the party. And I said, if this woman comes back to the DA, I'm out. Because I've really had enough of you guys refusing transformation and giving black people dignity. If this woman, and she's the one responsible for sabotaging Mmusi's the 2019 campaign, openly and deliberately. I said, if she comes back, I'm out. They probably didn't believe me. And 20th of October 2019, Sunday, she was elected by majority of the DA people. An hour later, released the statement that called for a press conference. And the following day, Monday, I resigned, and they asked me to stay for a month to allow the process to happen. To get someone else.
Someone else. And not long after that, because the same 2019, couple months later, that's when the election came. Now there was talks about, okay, since Mmusi is, in shambles right now, and you are out of the DA, why didn't y'all guys come together and start forming a party together? Why did y'all decide to go your own directions?
Well, look, we are all born as individuals. We mustn't really do things for own reasons. When I left the DA, remember Mmusi was still with the DA, only left, I think, a week or a few days after I left. By then, there was a lot of pressure for me to start my own political party, and started with Mmusi. And I invited Mmusi to come and talk to me, because I said, Mmusi, look, I can't start a political party until I do some research to see if...
Because you were the least experienced between the two of you.
Yes,
right.
Yeah, and I needed him. He's a younger person. I've got the resources. So I said that I just want to really run a 3 months market research to see all these people who are phoning radio stations, on social media, asking me to start a political party. Are they real people? Before I can start a political party. And I said to South Africans, I said, look, if I get less than 500,000 people, then it's not really worth my while. 3 months later, 2.4 million people said we want a political party, which are then launched 29th of August. And obviously, all this time, I'm really been trying to get Mmusi to really come in. But I think Mmusi had his own agendas, which I respect. I mean, Mmusi is a lovely person, without any doubt. But probably couldn't now see a situation where, when I joined the DA, I mean, I was a nobody politically. He was the leader of the political party. And now all of a sudden...
Do you think it was ego?
I don't know, but...
and the thing is, I haven't spoken to him yet, but I'm just taking it from the outside. Do you think it was ego? Because here's the thing. You start ActionSA and you get 6 municipalities and you get incredible votes, right? A lot later, we will talk about that discussions that the votes go down nationally, right? And then here's Mmusi. He starts his political party and it doesn't do quite well. And there are these two supposed great individuals that South Africa is calling. I'm not the one calling the great individuals, but it's South Africa's calling these two people great individuals. Tony Leon says that starting ActionSA is taking away power from the DA to have a real opposition against the ANC, right? And it seems that everybody's starting a political party. Galston has got his little political party. Andrew's got a little political party. Everyone's got their... And then what's starting to happen is that although the numbers are removing from ANC, it forces people to start working together even though they don't want to, right? Which now brings me to the next point, where you are at a place where you've swore on your life that you would never work with the ANC. Today in the city of Tshwane, you got into bed with them.
Well, I think, when human beings have got double standards, I obviously committed that I'll never work with the ANC. including the DA when they approached us to start that moonshot pack of theirs, and reluctantly accepted to work with them. And I remember the meeting they called where we signed an agreement to form this multi-party charter. You know, it was a 2-day session. I remember on the last day to finalize the agreement, the DA wanted a provision in the contract that in the event we don't get the majority, everyone must feel free to go their own way. And I said to the DA, we had a debate for probably 2 hours or so. We then proposed with them to say, look, for us as ActionSA, we want to really be clear and not mislead society. If you guys want to really have this clause, let's have 2 clauses, one for ActionSA, one for you, where you are saying you want this relationship, but in the event you don't get the majority, every party must feel to go their own way. Yeah. I said, it doesn't make sense. So I said, let's give a commitment. And when the circumstances change, let's make the decision now. But let's commit now. So we said to them, okay, let's have a ActionSA clause where ActionSA says we'll never work with the ANC. Then obviously, that's an hour before we addressed the press conference. They realized they're in trouble because I knew they were playing the double games, you know, and they ended up accepting to only accept the clause that all of us will not work with the ANC. But they continued and so forth.
So was it a matter of, look, as long as I get ActionSA in, I'll have to compromise to some degree? Is that what it was? And not going against your own words.
Yeah. But look,
because the thing is, I'm trying to have a conversation of a benefit of a doubt here.
Yeah, no. What happened is now, look at even what happened after the 2024 elections. We did very well in 2021 local government elections.
Okay, local government, but national, you didn't do too well.
Do as much as we did, but we're a force you cannot ignore. I mean, we're a 4.5-year-old party with representation in all 3 spheres of government, at national,
judicial, legislative,
in 7 provinces, with 139 councillors. So I think, yes, absolutely did not do what we wanted. I was disappointed. But I looked at it, ultimately says, Herman, you know what, don't be greedy. You've got the power. You are now in national government. You can really send the best guys to go and influence policy direction. And that's exactly what our guys are doing. So I'm saying is...
I'm gonna speak for you for a second, right? So what's happening is that I understand that the growth, when you got out, people were excited to join a new party, which was ActionSA. They knew Herman Mashaba, so boom, there was a shoot up. Then there was a loss of confidence at some point, then it went down. But the growth now became on a national basis, that even though the numbers weren't as big as the municipality, on a national's growth, this is why I'm saying, okay, I hear you, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. But now, a lot of people that came into the party, that people like Bongani Baloyi, they are no longer there, and quite a few other people that left DA, that left. 1 or 2 people came from EFF. Some people came from ANC. They left. The complaint is that there's a possibility of authoritarianism in how you lead the party. Is that authoritarianism coming from the businessman, or are they making claims that are not true? What is your take?
Well, you see, it's a very interesting politics, but it's like business. I mean, you see, the thing is, you look at people in business, they come and go, you know, and there's got to really be a leader. And I'm not the kind of person that's shy to make decisions, as long as I make the decisions for the right reasons. And unfortunately, our political landscape is full of people who are in politics for own reasons, you know, for personal agendas. I'm in politics because I'm not happy with the current trajectory my country is pursuing. And it's a very expensive exercise. I don't get paid to do this job. I'm a
Yes,
funder.
I was about to ask you, it's like, how much money are you losing every time
I'm
you're
not
part of it?
losing. No, I'm not losing.
So, or how much you investing? But
I'm investing
think the
in my
question-
country's future.
the question that needs to be asked, and I'd like a clear answer of it, right? And don't be ashamed to give this answer if you must. Is there a sense of authoritarianism inside ActionSA? If so, why so?
No, let me tell you why some of those guys have left. Is because I'm afraid I hold people accountable, like I'll do in business. So, and unfortunately, politicians in this country are used to doing stupid things and not want to be held accountable because they think they've built their own names out there. But unfortunately, ActionSA accountability is not non-negotiable. Yeah. And also ethical leadership. You can't go and do stupid things and compromise ActionSA and expect us to cover for you. I'm not in this game to make friends. I should talk to anyone who's with ActionSA because I tell it to South Africans, I'm not in this game to make friends. But friendship for me, it's a very important ingredient for my development.
Gotcha.
But it must be the kind of friendship that is actually based on solid ethical consideration. So and I like people who must be held accountable. You can't just expect when you are given a responsibility, you fail to honor it, and we try you, and you think we'll be afraid to get rid of you. No. I wasn't born like that.
So that's why you got rid of Bongani like that. You feel like he was not taking accountability.
To
what?
So, I mean, we put him in as a provincial chairperson, and instead of building structures, he was actually destroying those structures, divide and rule, and I don't know.
I see.
And
I asked him a question.
When these matters came to my attention, brought this to his attention that something is not right, and here's the evidence. So obviously felt uncomfortable to continue, but left from there.
Because I did sit down with him on that very chair and then ask him, it's like, why did you leave ActionSA? It's like he felt that people were talking in your ear to get rid of him, and so that happened.
No.
So nobody is giving details to what is happening. Okay. If you had to be president tomorrow, something happens and ActionSA by some miracle has a 60% vote or 66% vote. What happens next? Give me what 4-5 years would look like in the rulership of Mr. Mashaba and the ActionSA.
Well, immediately to come out with programs that can grow our economy, taking into consideration that we are the most unequal society on earth with the highest unemployment rate in the world, with factories lying abandoned, empty throughout the country. The first thing I'll do to get a delegation to put together a plan on how we must reopen these factories to make South Africa a manufacturing hub, because we've
What would we manufacture?
No, whatever the businesses want to manufacture, not those factories are not going to be run by government. What does government?
Okay, so you're going to definitely take the capitalist route.
You've got Babelech industrial area in Amaskal, Harangu industrial area where I started Black Like Me. The city of Johannesburg, 30 years ago, was a world-class city. We need the private sector to come in to build affordable accommodation, build industrial hubs and trading areas and so forth. We close our borders to people coming into our country illegally. We tighten our borders to make sure that we encourage people of the world to come here, but come here legally, and when they're here to respect our laws. We must immediately free our criminal justice system from political interference. They must be as independent as possible. That they cannot be at the whim of politicians, because you can't.
So the justice system needs to be independent.
Yes, you can't build an economy in an environment of chaos. So right now, yes, make sure that I think Parliament must hold the police accountable, but put in professional policemen and women. Put in national prosecuting. The prosecutors must be as independent as possible. We need immediate revision of our constitution, because in 1996, when it was adopted, we thought it was the best thing ever that God ever created. Here we are 31 years later. We realize this constitution, some aspects of our constitution actually favor illegality, and protected by, to give an example, the preamble of our constitution says South Africa belongs to all who live in it. And you look at the Bill of Rights that say anyone in South Africa, whether you came here legally or not, when kids must go to school, we must provide for them. People who we don't know who they are. People, I mean, these are things that we need to address. South Africa must be for South Africans. We need the pride of our people. We've got to honestly mass deportation of people who are in our country illegally, send them back to their respective countries, and so that we can really be in a position.
So the infrastructure can support the people that are within it. And now the question that I wanted to ask is that now there's a lot of socialists that are there, the parties that are out there want to have the foreigners just flood in from Africa. Why is that the case? Is there something that they're trying to achieve by doing that? Because they know damn well that the infrastructure and what we have now cannot carry them, yet they just want people in.
I don't understand it. It's not only the people from Africa. We tend to misrepresent the challenge of undocumented foreign nationals. We want to confine it to Africans. We're sitting with, I don't know what number, but big numbers of Pakistan, the people from
Pakistan, Somalia. Okay, well, they're not African.
Yeah, so Pakistan is Mexico.
Mexicans? We've got Mexicans here?
I don't know if you remember on the 22nd of...
I know that 2 million,
presented to Parliament, showing that Johannesburg is a World Cup of crime. Because what happened is, when I was the mayor, I made sure that every arrest that JMPD does must obviously give the identity, more especially of foreign nationals. We had people from the United States who were in South Africa illegally, people from Australia.
Mos Def was here illegally at some point. You know the celebrity Mos Def?
I don't know. Because obviously Zimbabwe and Mozambique, because of the proximity to South Africa, naturally you're going to have more of that. So it's not, South Africa is not just really having the immigration problem from Africa. We've got Pakistanis. I don't understand why the Pakistanis, people from Kazakhstan and other places, why they're here. Chinese, Indians, why they're here illegally. In fact, look, I think we must accept that because of the weakness in our current constitution, when it addresses this issue of the Bill of Rights protecting criminals, the criminals underworld, international underworld, they've actually identified South Africa to be their playground, because they know to be the only country in the world where you are caught as a criminal. You know you've got all the rights.
You've got the rights, yeah.
More than law-abiding South Africans. And so they've identified this, and they're spending money with so-called human rights lawyers, NGOs, to support their cause, so that anyone talking against illegal foreigners, it is then obviously framed as if the South Africans are xenophobic, and it's not about xenophobia. It's about the love of our country.
I'll tell you this much. Although there is a sense of hate between black people in South Africa, xenophobia, South Africa is definitely not xenophobic.
Oh no,
that I can tell you. However, in certain places where townships, we have Somali, Pakistani, and those kind of people that they're there, they tend to become richer than the people inside the township. Black people give the Pakistani the power to become more powerful than them. They poison them with food. They own everything that is there in a township they're not from.
Not registered.
They're not registered.
They're not registered. They deal in cash.
They don't pay taxes.
They don't employ locals.
Yeah.
And honestly, if anyone expects us as South Africans to keep quiet, honestly, they must understand as ActionSA, we are not going to apologize to anyone about.
So it's definitely going to be an iron-fisted rulership in South Africa if ActionSA had to be in office.
Without any doubt.
Without a doubt.
Without any doubt. There'll be mass deportation of those who are in this country, even those some who have acquired our citizenship and acquired it fraudulently. We are not going to accept that. If we can prove that you've acquired South African citizenship and you acquired it fraudulently, we will revoke that and get into the next bus out of
the country. So here's a question that I want to ask. Okay, so if ActionSA gets 45% and now you're pushed into getting your own GNU, who would be your coalitions?
No, I think that determination it's going to be determined by the voters. No one can know upfront
what would happen.
Yeah, no.
Right.
We're flexible as ActionSA, and I think we've learned when we formed ActionSA, we said we won't work with the ANC because of the level of corruption. And we tried the DA only to find, I'm sure you're aware, when I was the mayor of DA, in the 3 years, I fired three.
How did DA feel about that?
Oh, they're very angry with me. They're very angry with me because they wanted to project the DA not to really be a corrupt organization. And unquestionable evidence, So I'll say to them, guys, if you don't want me to fire these people, I'm out. And I'll tell society why I'm out. You look at... In all the years I was the mayor of in the 3 years I was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, where I was always accused of EFF tenders, which I can write under a new oath that in the time I was the mayor, not a single time did any EFF person come to me to discuss a tender. It has never happened, unless it happened in someone's head. But I can't say the same about the DA. I fired 3 of their executives, members of my mayoral committee. Tony Leon came to my house asking me to facilitate meetings with officials for his company to go and present. That's real. It's in books with evidences. I'm not talking something that comes from a professor at Harvard. I'm giving you facts with evidence. So for us, what we'll do is we'll work with any political party that's willing to ensure that
corruption is not there. So I want to ask you about corruption. You say you're not corrupt, right? 12.3 million is alleged payment to this gentleman here, Prince Mashaba, to gerrymander some facts. Is that true?
Well, but I'll confirm this. It's my hard-earned money. I issued a statement when Prince lied to South Africa that I did not fund the book. And I said, the guy's talking nonsense. I gave the history, how he approached me, and he wanted to get funding. When he couldn't, I said to him, Prince, I'm happy because the project that you want to do, it's something close to my heart. I'm happy to really give you a loan. And I'll get this money over generations. Is that corruption? Is that corruption with money that I've worked hard, paid taxes? But for anyone to tell me how much I must pay the person, I think there was a black guy with good ideas, good concept, and I do. And we can imagine I'm tough when it comes to business and my money. But in this particular case, because the guy had great ideas, and read the book. The guy's done a fantastic.
I'll take a look at it because this is the biography.
The guy's done a fantastic job over 4 years. And I didn't want to argue with him about this. And he came at the time long before I even thought I'll go into politics. I was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg in 2018 when he approached me with this project, and I was really excited. When he couldn't get the funding, I decided, no, Prince, I'm happy to fund you. We've got a contract. That's why when he denied, it came as a shock to me, and I issued a statement to confirm that this guy's talking nonsense. So if this is corruption, if I buy this juice, I pay the price, I'm happy with the price, with my own money, who honestly can tell me how to spend my money?
With that being true, it is my job to make sure that I test and I press and I check and I check and I check. Because definitely I want to make sure that I have you on my podcast the next time. And the next time we speak about it, we'll be talking about the outsider a little bit more, because I want to go through this in detail. Although there was a part of biography that we've discussed, where you're from, how you came about, how you started business and more. But I will take a little bit more insight from the book.
Please do. I mean, the guy's done a fantastic job. That's the reason why when he was lying about unauthorized, I took the rights from him, removed that unauthorized, and you look at this book, it's exactly, and it's actually sometimes this racial corner tones sometimes are so deep that Prince as a black guy has to suffer alone. His publishers, who from what Prince tells me, are the ones who said you must call this book unauthorized. But unauthorized book is
someone
book who you've not had any contact, but the book throughout. So, and the publishers, no one took them to account.
That's why they took the book down at that point.
I honestly don't understand why the publishers were let off the hook and Prince is the only one who suffered.
I mean, you could sue them.
Sue who?
The publishers.
But no, it's not really necessary, because obviously I managed to get the Prince to remove the nonsense of the unauthorized and call it the outsider by Prince Mashele. We've never changed anything inside the book.
So, Mr. Mashaba, President Mashaba, because you're the president of ActionSA, being a hard
You're most welcome to call me Herman.
Herman. First, you know what? I'll call you first name basis once we leave. Once the camera cuts, I'm like, yo, H, what's going on? But at this point, for the sake of formality, we didn't wear the suit and tie for nothing. And he didn't pay me for anything. Just so that you understand, this is real conversations that we're having. The questions that I'm asking are genuine questions. And the next time it's going to get here, it's going to get harder and harder and harder because of how G2G Podcast is designed that way. But back to you, Mr. Mashaba, is that keep going. There was a point where the country had a lot of faith in you. And there are points where people find you too iron-fisted. Either way, make sure that you continue to get to the place where we need to get as a patriot of South Africa. Continue to make sure that the Black community does not fall. I'm not calling you a savior for that, but I'm saying if South Africa needs to be a hero, I know that you're one of the very few people that can get the job done. And you've proven that with the biggest city in all of Africa. Now, the country's a whole different ball game. But if you do get to that place, make sure that let it be known that you are rooted for to some degree by me and people like me, right? I'm not saying I'm voting for ActionSA. I'm just saying that I am standing behind you as the individual and I want to watch you grow here forth and out. I do also want to see you have the younger people, the younger versions of you being invested into to grow this country. The unemployment is very, very high and it's getting worse and worse and worse. Not only is there no employment, people are becoming unemployable. I'd like to see ActionSA and also President Herman Mashaba make those being implemented as we speak, not when he becomes more and more powerful. Have that happen more and more so. But there's a lot because you're new to politics, but you're a great business person and there's so much more to learn in the time that you're going to still be in politics. So this is why I'm routing behind you, because I'm a capitalist myself. It is the first time we meet, so we do not know each other. We do not know each other behind, closed doors or anything. We know each other here. So our relationship will grow from here, but it does not change that at any given point that we're sitting down, I will challenge you to the full, because you have to speak for the country and you have that responsibility for the country too.
Can I just share something with you that you must know about me? And that's something I've practiced throughout my life. One of my biggest fears in life is to be surrounded by weak people. That's when I feel really very vulnerable. Why I fear being surrounded by weak people? Because I was born like that to make decisions. I'm not scared to make decisions. My grandfather taught me and instilled in me not to stand on a fence. He really instilled in me. He says, my boy, if you stand on a fence, you'll never get anywhere. And the fence will get higher and higher. And one day you're going to fall and hurt yourself. So rather always remain on the ground. And when you're on the ground, you must understand not everybody's going to like you. That's fine. Because he always gave me an example of Jesus Christ to say, look, God gave us his only son to come and rescue us. And look at what we did to Jesus Christ. Please never put yourself in a compromised environment. It is for that reason, as I live my life, no one can ever point a gun at Herman Mashaba. It will never happen, because I will never go and misrepresent myself and so forth. Do I make mistakes? Absolutely. I mean, if I look at my business career, spending over 40 years, I've made...
Oh, by the way, I wanted to say this. He probably turned over $1 billion. This is one of the few black men that has overturned $1 billion. Am I correct? He didn't tell me that.
Let's not go there.
Let's not talk about it. I think so. Just so you know that I think so.
What I'm saying is no one can ever one day hold the gun at my head to say, because of whatever. Whatever I've really done in life, that's why when the NC, I got cross with them, they tried every trick in the book. That's why when I left the DA, including, as you are aware, when last year I removed them from Tshwane, they tried every trick in the book to insult me and call me names and call me racist and so forth. I'm not even intimidated by such. In fact, the more people criticizes me, obviously I do reflection, but if I believe whatever I'm doing is correct, actually they make me much more determined.
Gotcha. And keep going. Keep going.
Thank you.
So there you have it. From businessman to president. From a young man that was disadvantaged to the hyper-successful man, and so much more. Someone who has so much patriotism for the country, loves it so much that he decided he's not taking a plane anywhere, even though he can afford to be anywhere in the world, and tries to build it here. Yes, I'm talking about Mr. Herman Mashaba, or President Herman Mashaba. If you feel that you have some comments, some questions you thought I would have asked, please put them down here, and I'll definitely invite him to have some more discussions, more so. But please be kind, because in the comment sections, I live for these comment sections. I will tear you apart text-wise. So please be respectful, because it's how we do it. Like, comment, subscribe, and let us build South Africa together. So until next time, let's peace out.